As you grow older, hopefully if you're doing maturity right, you will become less and less stubborn. You're probably going to find when you're 30, looking back at your 14, 15-year-old self, like, man, I was so dead set in my own ways. I was always knew for sure I was right and everybody else around me was wrong. Now, hopefully you're not like that, but you'll be able to see that in retrospect as you get older. But the trick to a better lived life is trying to mature out of things like that faster. So if you can do it when you're young, that's all the better, right? And what is stubbornness? Stubbornness is just simply insisting on your own position regardless of the evidence presented to the contrary, right? This doesn't necessarily have to be something political. It could be any kind of disagreement that you have between your friends, your family, or you and your significant other, people at work. That's a big one. I think, I've probably left a job once because I was just butting heads with somebody. And again, in retrospect, I was like, I could have just let it go. Like, I'd have been fine. But if you want to be mature, not just mature, but if you want to have a more peaceful existence, learn early on to err on the side of caution in any situation where you're going into a disagreement. And by caution, I mean admitting to yourself that you may be wrong in this. Your position, you might not have thought about it from every angle, or I don't know why I'm so shy when people walk by, but I am. You might not have thought about it from every angle, or the person you're dealing with, their perspective might even be skewed or wrong, but the thing is, think to yourself, in 5 years, am I going to remember what the subject matter of this argument was? Or am I going to remember that I was so insistent on my own way that I allowed this to escalate into a fight? Into some kind of back and forth that built resentment in the relationship. And I'm telling you, it's not worth it 99% out of the time. I'm not saying don't have boundaries, right? But most of these arguments you're going to have with people are petty disagreements. If your friend is telling you, hey, I don't like how you drive, you're making me nervous, and you think, well, I'm driving just fine, he can get over it. This is how so-and-so taught me to drive. This is how I've always driven. No one's ever else complained about it. Who cares? You're not always going to see the reason, as in the reasoning, in why they're acting the way they are. But what you can do is refuse to exacerbate it. And even if you don't see how you're wrong, or if you're wrong, or even if you're thinking, you know what, in a month from now I'm going to look back on this and see exactly how I was right, just allow yourself to be wrong, even if you don't really believe it, because your relationships are more important than petty discord that you could alleviate your insistence on being right over. You get to college, you don't like how your roommates do the dishes. Do you want to deal with a situation for a whole semester where you and your roommate hate each other? Or do you want to deal with a dirty sink? Or vice versa. If your roommate doesn't like how you do the dishes, okay, just spend the extra 5 minutes and do the dishes differently, right? Just to let someone else be right. I challenge you, within this next month, maybe this next week, you're going to have some kind of disagreement. I want you to look at it from an outside perspective. Imagine that you're you 5 years down the road looking at this, and ask yourself, if I let go of my position here, is that going to be the end of the world? If it's at all possible that you can admit to yourself that no, it's not going to be the end of the world, it's not going to be life-altering, then I challenge you to use this phrase. Whether or not you believe you're legitimately right, say, I didn't think about it like that. You may be right. Or, you're right, I'm wrong. Or, I may be wrong on this. Always go into everything with that idea. I may be wrong on this, but even try and actually employ these phrases. Utter them out loud. The strength and courage it takes to face your ego down and say something like that when you're in the middle of the disagreement, not 5 years down the road. That takes a lot, and you're going to be proud of yourself for having done it. And your relationships, I promise you, will do better. That includes your friendships, your connections to your neighbors, your work, your co-workers, your bosses, your family, your significant other. I remember 5 years, 10 years ago, I would have been so insistent on really driving home and convincing my significant other of my, position on any kind of disagreements I have nowadays with my fiance. But nowadays I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think of it like that. You're right, babe. Because the fight isn't worth it. What's worth it is peace at all costs. Almost always. Almost always. I'm not saying don't have boundaries. And remember, you always have the right to opt out of a relationship if somebody is just really brings you down that much. But in that case, just leave the relationship. You don't have to make a mountain out of every single molehill, even if they're trying to. So, I love you, kids. Have a good one.